Hello and welcome to Redeeming Thunder. My name is Erica and I'm here to give you a wonderful prophetic word. This is chapter 36, part 1. The title of this is Almah, Yahuwah sustains you. So on 10/1/2024 is the day that he downloaded this word to me. On that exact day, I also was feeling some, what felt like contractions, okay? Lower back pain, lower stomach pain, like it would contract, quite literally. Again, this is confirming word because it has come true, okay? So, and this is essential for you to know this because for many of the Esthers in this hour, Yahuwah is going to prove to you that you are in fact his favored one, okay? You are in fact his royal Princess Diamond who's becoming queen, okay? And on the journey, that's a different birthing, okay? But right now, what's birthing right now is being of his bride. Okay? Why? Because the word Almah means of marriageable age. Okay? So it doesn't matter if you're a virgin or not. It matters if you are in the level of righteousness, in the level of purification and consecrated, set apart, and went through the refiner's fire, okay? Generation silver flames, okay? And then it matters if you are an Esther, and it matters if you are a Ruth even. And then have went through all of that to then even be at the best status with your oil in your lantern, okay? Remember the 5 brides that were waiting for their husband, okay? You are of that status that has oil in her lantern, and then are of marriageable status to marry your heavenly husband. So now he's saying he's going to sustain you, and he's going to provide for you, and he's going to make a way so that you can do your calling, and he's going to pay you. He's going to provide income for you to be able to keep doing what you're doing. Okay? Why? Because he is your heavenly husband. He's showing you that he's going to do what he said he's going to do. And when you are ready, you're already in that status, Almah. You are ready to receive your future ordained spouse. Okay? So I felt the labor pains of that. Okay? Sometimes those who receive prophetic word can actually feel physical manifestations of what is occurring. Okay, so now what I was doing is thanking Yahusha for income that was coming in. Just like he said he was going to do, he had been doing it, okay? And that's when he said Almah. And he says handmaid times 5. He said, yes, you are my handmaid. For now on, I provide for you. So stay tuned, pay attention, because he's going to make a way out of no way, and he's going to cause for your burdens to be lifted, because what he really wants you to do is follow your calling. Okay? And so now he also wants you to buy yourself some things that you've been needing or even just wanting. Okay? So, now I want to explain the definition of the word Almah, and it's giving a Bible story, the book in the book of Ruth. Okay? Because there's and I found it very fascinating. I want to take a break right there because I found it very fascinating that just even though I got the prophetic word on 10/1/2024, I'm preparing this word today, which is in mid-July 2025. Okay? And the dream was very particular. Okay? I actually didn't want to write the dream down because I felt like it was just weird. But I wrote it down anyway. Not realizing, jumping in today, that I'm going to be, getting these Ordained Spouse series chapters recorded. Not realizing that this exact word was talking about this exact thing. Okay, I'm going to explain what I'm saying right now. And you'll understand once we read further what the word definition of the word Almah stands for. Okay, the dream was suddenly, so I'm standing, and suddenly I see this woman and some other people walking around, and then I see a man. He was very tall, so I couldn't really see his face, and she just like starts to bend down on one knee, okay, and then she says, "Will you marry me?" And I'm standing. I'm just like, wait a minute. It's the opposite. What is she doing? He's supposed to ask her to marry him, right? And she's the one doing it. That's a little odd for me. I was like, what in the world? And in the dream, I kind of wanted her not to do it. I wanted her to stand up. But I didn't say anything because it was like their own little thing, right? And then that dream ended. Okay? And I didn't want to write it down because I thought, this is just so weird, I know some people do it out in the world and that's their life and that's fine, okay? But let me get to the definition. Okay, so Almah, AMA'. Okay, that means it's a word for a servant, but one who is outside the family and hence eligible for marriage with the master. Okay, so when Ruth first meets Boaz, she says to him, "Thou hast spoken friendly unto thine handmaid. Though I be not like unto one of thine handmaidens." All right, so we're going to break that down, what that means. Okay. Some may show the distinction by saying handmaid for the first use, which means maid servant for the second. But the one for maid servant in Ruth 2:13, she calls herself Shiphanak. Okay? In chapter 3:9 in the book of Ruth, just one chapter later, she calls herself Almah. This is also a handmaid or maidservant, but a world of difference, okay? So, Shiphanak means is a housemaid who has served her master so well that she feels part of the family, or is an excuse me, I got mixed up here because I lost my spot. Okay, so who serves as a maid or servant, okay? Here Ruth is declaring that she's a foreigner, yet Boaz is treating her like family, okay? More than that, by declaring she considers herself a shipchana, she is also saying that they could never be married or enjoy even a romantic relationship with him. Okay. One was not to have such a relationship with a close family member. Okay, so this just dawned on me. There was a dream that I had back in August, could have been July of 2024. So a whole year later, okay? A whole year in the past, excuse me. Right now, a whole year later, I'm reflecting upon this whole scenario. Okay, so that dream that I had, there was 2 little kids. And a boy says, meet me under the cover at the playground, okay? They were in school. And then, so she goes over there with her friend, okay? And there was 2 boys there. But I want to focus on this couple right here, okay? And then he says, close your eyes. So she closes her eyes, she opens her eyes, and then he presents her with they're only around like between 6 and 8 years old, okay? And presents her with a handful of dandelions that he found out in the field, in the playground, okay? At the school. It was during school hours. And she was shocked, and he says, will you marry me? And then she's kind of shocked, right? It's cute, but she's just like, I'm too young to get married. She's just like, what? You know, like, she's kind of panicking, you know? And he's like, she's like, no, you know, because she's like, I don't know how to be a wife. I don't know how to cook. I don't know how to, you know, take care of a household. You know, like, she was just thinking like all like the whole thing. And maybe he saw it more as being puppy love. Maybe he saw it that way, but she like took it on and was like, I'm too young to get married, right? And he's like, why not? He's like, we have the same name. It's meant to be. We have to be together. It's meant to be. And she's like, oh yeah, we do have the same, kind of like the same name, right? And she's thinking like, it looks like he's really serious. Like he really did want to marry her, right? And then, but she was kind of like, how can I don't know how to be a wife, you know, like between 6 and 8 years old, she's like, didn't know what to do, right? She was like, that was so sweet that he thought of her and he saw her a future, okay, with her, but she was just kind of like, what do I do, right? Like, I'm nervous, I'm scared, I don't know. No one ever wanted to, maybe no one ever loved her, showed her like a love that she, you know, I know she's only 6 to 7 years old, but what if nobody loved and expressed that level of wanting to be forever with her already? She's like, are you sure? He might change his mind. Okay? So, anyways, so he's like, well, if you say no, then the other boy that was there, he's like, if you say no to him, will you marry me then? And she's like, no. Right? And then the other little boy, the first little boy, was like, no, you're supposed to marry me, not you. And then he looked really bummed out. Okay? And she didn't mean to hurt his feelings, but she just, I think it was a shock, and it was a lot to take in. And he's like, fine, if you guys don't marry us, then we'll chase you forever. Okay? And this is kids on the playground, so then, you know, the girls run off, and they're out in the field, okay? Okay, something else just dawned on me, okay? about maybe 2 months ago, when I just said out in the field, okay, I just said that phrase. I heard that phrase. I heard that phrase in the sub days. So when I'm studying, reading something, and suddenly I'll be put in a sleep for like 1 to 2 seconds, literally. And then something will be downloaded, right? It will be an angel telling me something internally and or in my ear. Literally, I hear it like right next to my ear. Okay, so that occurred about 2 months ago, and he's in the phrase that was said to me, he sees you out in the field. It all ties together, okay? And now I'm understanding, out of all amongst everyone that was there, he's been noticing you all along, okay? He's not forgotten. He didn't forget about that day, okay? Even though it was for a scenario, he did not forget. Now, so in that moment, what I'm trying to tie into here is, she kind of basically answered, I'm a shiphanak. So the little girl kind of said, I'm a shiphanak, handmaid. We're too little to get married, right? Okay. But then something changed, okay? Somewhere along the line after that encounter, Naomi must have explained Hebrew law to Ruth, telling her that a Hebrew woman could not marry a foreign man, but a Hebrew man could marry a foreign woman. If that woman becomes a proselyte, which Ruth did when she returned with Naomi and declared Naomi's people were now her people, and she forsook all the paganism of the Moabites. She was descended from Lot, technically, a nephew of Abraham. So Lot was a nephew from Abraham, so her connection with the Hebrews was not altogether disconnected. Then when Naomi revealed that Boaz was a kinsman, her husband's brother, and explained the law of Levirate for brother husband, and that Amalek was part of the royal line, okay, and that a male descendant had to be born to carry out this royal line, not to mention to bring the Messiah into the world, Ruth began to put it all together. Now, remember, Boaz was not, okay, so in her situation, Boaz was not a young man. He was older in age, and maybe she's saying that Ruth was a little bit younger, and or in this scenario, I'm not saying everybody's scenario is going to be the same where you're going to marry someone way older than you, okay? I'm not saying that. Or not even that handsome. It could be someone that's major handsome, okay? And you're major attracted to. It could just be working out that way, okay? But Ruth saw, basically, she was the age of Naomi, the man that was for Ruth in this scenario, okay? So then, Ruth is basically wasn't driven to find a husband, nor to find security of a husband, nor that Boaz was rich. So basically, Boaz was rich, though, okay? But she's not interested in him because he's rich, okay? She's not interested in him just to have somebody by her side, and not be alone because she's lonely, okay? She sees it as for the sake of heaven, and she realized that she has a royal calling. And then she admitted that she was attracted to him, okay? So, besides this union that you guys are going to get into, besides it being a royal calling, because you have offspring, okay, that need to come into this world, and besides, Yahuwah is going to cause this attraction, and it's not going to be forced. It's super obvious. He's like, once you find out who it is, you're going to be like, why did I delay? Why did I stress out and worry about Yahuwah picking someone not cute? Okay, he's gonna pick someone that is major cute, major handsome, like beyond. Okay, so don't stress out about that. So okay, now this is the moment, is when she starts changing, just like the little girl in the dream. Instead of saying I'm Shipanak, now she's gonna say something else. That's saying that she's a marriageable age and she's interested in him, for that man to be her husband. Okay? So now that the next meeting at the threshing floor, okay, when they say threshing floor, it's sort of like appointed times. The right place at the right time. Where Boaz was sleeping off a hangover, he awakens to find this woman at his feet. The gesture of it, basically, they had prostitutes back in the day, okay? And some women would do that, and some men would not be at home. They would be out in the streets, and they would, I guess, meet up. Okay? But he was shocked that it wasn't a random lady, and it wasn't someone trying to pursue him in that sense. It was someone that he knew, someone that he already had been eyeing, someone who he saw out in the field. Is this all tying together? Yes, he saw her out on his fields. Okay? He's been noticing her all along and realizing that, I'll hold off on that because Yahuwah wants me to hold off on that detail, and I'll say it on another video. Okay? Because I had a dream about that too. So, then she says, so he basically wakes up, right? From his nap. And it's probably like 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, something really early. I am your handmaid, only this time she uses the word Almah. I am your Almah, which is a word for a servant, but one who is outside the family and hence eligible for marriage with a master. Then she declares he is a kinsman redeemer and to spread his skirt. So there is a custom that when a woman chooses a man that she wants to marry, because apparently they did that back in the day, okay? Just like she's basically asking him to marry. She's basically asking him to marry her by asking him to spread his skirt over her feet. So they have long tunics, and he's laying down sideways like that, and it's kind of dragging past his feet, right? It's long. It's really long. So it could extend further out a little bit. And so if you watch the video on YouTube, the old-fashioned one, it's pretty long. Okay? And she lays there next to him, and she spreads his skirt, his tunic, to cover her feet as well. So it's covering both of their feet. Okay? And maybe because it's a bit chilly out there, you would think, and to cover your feet, right? So you won't get cold. But it's a custom. It means something more than just not being cold. For your feet not to be cold sleeping outside. It means I see you as a man that can protect me, and that can bring, honor to my life, and that can love me. Okay? And that can take me in and be my kinsman redeemer. Okay? That's what, and that, if you asked me to marry you, I would say yes. Okay? So, basically, somebody else was runner-up, though. It was Amalek, the brother of Naomi. So, the brother-in-law of Naomi. Okay? But he did not want to marry her. But Boaz already saw her in the fields and did want to marry her. So, but she didn't know that part. Okay? It was just like this internal, supernatural, magnetic feeling that was drawing each other closer together, to chat here and there, to it was like this internal feeling. It was orchestrated by the Most High. Okay, So he then was like so honored that she had chose him to be her husband. Okay? And he was like, you could have anybody, and why do you want me? Right? And she just saw his character. She saw his attributes. Okay? She saw his demeanor. She's trusted him because Naomi knows him. Okay? And then maybe it's a situation where Yahweh was bringing someone from your past. Okay? Just like most of these prophetic words is like kind of hinting at someone that's from your past. Okay? Like so much from your past, like someone's been loving you since elementary. Okay? It could even be to that level. So he had to work things out in order to make sure that he will be the one to marry her. He really knew the other man saw her as just a Moabite. Okay? When she said Almah, it's pretty much saying that she took on the deity, Yahuwah, the Most High, the creator of the universe, as the one that she serves and worships. And she doesn't do any of the other pagan rituals, okay, of the world. Because in being a Moabite, that's already kind of like they do those things. Okay, so she's saying I want to be an Israelite, right? So something occurred where he pronounces favor, and then he he basically declares that he wants to, she's eligible for marriage, right? And Amalek is next in line, and he rejects the idea in front of the crowd, okay? So then he says, well, I'll take it on. So it kind of looks like it was naturally orchestrated, and it looked like the man's the leader of the union in front of the crowd. So it was on broadcast somehow. And she just stood in the crowd, and he says, I'll handle it. I'll handle everything. And so then he proclaimed out in the crowd, he's like, I'm going to be sharing everything of what he owns is going to be for her. Like, half, right? Just like Esther and King Xerxes, up to half my kingdom. You can have up to half my kingdom, okay? And some people were being snooty, and especially the Amalek guy. He's like, how are you going to give her that? Well, she doesn't deserve that. And then, but he really loved her, okay? And so that is how, in that custom, they were able to be together. The other person had to reject the idea. All right. So, that's all I have for this word. Okay. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you on the next. It's getting pretty good. Shalom.